Okay, in this video, I'm going to quickly just walk through how to pull in different columns for reporting. And I'm going to walk through which columns I personally like to pull in. Most of my work is focused on driving conversion volume and return. So my columns will obviously include down funnel actions like purchases, adds to cart, things like that. But for other clients and other campaigns, but if you're running a top of funnel awareness campaign or something like that, then obviously those down funnel events don't matter to you, and you're probably looking more towards like reach and cost per reach and things like that. Okay, but for me, first, I like to understand, how much I'm spending. So I like to add that in, and then out of that spend, what are we getting in terms of reach and impressions? And then after impressions, how many engagements are we getting in terms of outbound clicks? So I'll type in outbound. And outbound is different from clicks because clicks on Facebook will include anything like clicks on the ad, clicks on likes, like clicking to comment, things like that. What I'm concerned about is getting people to click through to the site. So outbound clicks. And also the click-through rate for outbound clicks, and then also the cost per outbound click. That's all good stuff to see in our dashboard. After that, I like to see the CPMs, so how much it costs for us to actually reach people. And actually, I like to move this up to right after amount spent. It's all personal preference. I like to keep spend things further up and almost like a funnel. So like how much you put in is at the top, what we get out is at the bottom. I also like to have obviously the conversion event that we care about. Actually, before we get there, I like to have something called the thumb stop rate. And thumb stop rate is just 3-second video plays over impressions. And I'll explain what that is in a second. 3-second video plays over impressions. Changes to everyone in the business. That way your teammates can also access this metric. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm creating a custom metric here. Thumb stop rate isn't something that Facebook offers right out of the box, so you just have to add it. Okay, create metric. And I'll do that again, create another metric. And for this one, I'm just gonna actually take the conversion action that we care about. In this case, we have a confirmation page. In this case, our confirmation page is view/space divided by impressions times 1,000. And all this is a way for us to understand how many conversions we're getting per impression that we're serving. And I'll explain why in a second that matters. Just select that, make that calculation, wrap it in parentheses, good old PEMDAS, make this a percentage. And the reason why I scaled it up by 1,000 is just because, there's a lot of impressions. And the reason why I scale it up by 1,000 is because impressions is usually such a large number. You end up with very small numbers that you have to expand a couple times in your reporting to get the decimals far enough to the right. To avoid doing that, I just scale it up by 1,000. I'll also just want to add the total volume of confirmation page views as well as the cost per confirmation page view. Just to get a sense of how many conversions we're driving and also the CPAs for that. And I also had average play time that I wanted to include. So what I'll do here is I'll just check save as preset, and then I'll just call this core performance. For this specific account, we're actually just driving confirmation page views. This is a top of funnel strategy where we're just trying to get registrations, and space/debut is the registration confirmation page. For D2C clients and accounts that are more concerned with driving return on ad spend, you'd want to include other funnel actions like adds to cart, purchases, things like that. But this is a tech SaaS company, and so all we're going to do is just measure accounts created. We'll hit apply, and there we go. We have all of those different columns that I added. We can see here, very small spend. This is a very small account right now. Last 30 days, $181. CPMs, 38. Yada yada. We won't look at this too closely for now. Why did I pick these columns? So quick explainer. Obviously, we'll want to know the magnitude of our investment, how many impressions and how many people we're reaching with that, the cost per 1,000 impressions, how many clicks, CTR, thumb stop rate. This one is an indicator of how good your hook is. So for every 1,000 impressions, how many people are actually viewing your video for 3 seconds or longer? 16% is pretty decent. When you get below 10, you have to work on your hooks. When you get anywhere north of 25, you know that your hooks are doing a decent enough job. For ad units that aren't video based, for instance statics, then your indicator of how relevant and how good your ad is performing in terms of capturing user interest is going to be your outbound CTR. And on Facebook, anything around a 1 is pretty decent. As you get down below 0.7, 0.6, you should probably do a little bit more to get those clicks to happen. Now there is a differentiation between outbound CTR and regular CTR. Regular clicks are going to be just any click on the ad. And so those are obviously going to be much higher because outbound clicks are going to be a subset of total clicks. So when people talk about CTR, make sure that you're comparing apples to apples and you're looking at outbound CTR. Views of space/debut. Space/debut is our confirmation page for account creation. That's basically our conversion action. That's the proxy for account creation. There are typically other ways of measuring account creation, but for reasons that I won't go into with this account, account creation is best proxied and measured as confirmation page views. And so this is obviously how many we're getting out of our spend. Confirmation page views times 1,000 is basically giving us our conversion rate. And I like having our conversion action divided by impressions as my primary metric to look at for optimization, because what this does is it takes into account not only how good your ad is at getting clicks and engagements, but also how good that traffic converts when it reaches your site. You can obviously have very clickbaity ads that have very high CTRs, but then bring a lot of unqualified traffic to your site that then doesn't convert. What you want is a high number when you blend the two together, because that indicates relevance both on the ad and the user coming in, but also conversion rate on the site of those people coming in. So the higher this number is, typically the better your performance is going to be and the lower your cost per conversion is going to be. And this is our column for cost per conversion, cost per space/debut, $4.22, and video average play time, 3 seconds. Now we can drill down, look into the ad set, and we'll see how our ads perform on an ad level. We have two ad units here. Outbound CTR on the second one is clearly stronger than the first one. And the difference really between these two ads is just one is a carousel format and the other is a whole video unit without breaks in between. The actual asset is the same video, but for the carousel one, we've broken it up into 4, and it looks like this. There's 4 segments here, whereas the other one is the whole segment, all in one. And yeah, Facebook automatically prioritizes the higher performing one. So yeah, looking at these different ads, you'll see they perform differently. One is better at getting clicks than the other, and you see that in the CPCs. They're equally good at getting people to stop to watch for 3 seconds, one seems to be quite a bit better at converting people once they get to the site. But when numbers are small, you can't take too much stock in these performance indicators. They need to kind of solidify and normalize over time. With statistics and performance, things might be quite divergent and noisy in the beginning, only to normalize and come back to the mean over time. So you need to have these ads kind of big, spend a couple $100 or $1,000 or something like that to truly prove out whether or not these metrics will stay stable. Okay, if this were a e-commerce account or an account that we need to pay attention to return on ad spend for, then we would want to add something like our purchase metric in here. And we would want to add both the total number of purchases as well as the CPAs, as well as the return on ad spend from those purchases. And one thing you might want to do is come in here and just uncheck these boxes, because each box represents a different column within the purchase event. And so it just adds more noise to your table. If you want that granularity, you can leave it, but I typically leave it unchecked. Hit apply, scroll over. For this account, we obviously have no purchases, but if this were an e-commerce account, you would see, hopefully, purchase volume, CPA for purchase, and then the return on ad spend. Something else you might want to do for an e-commerce account is actually create something called AOV. And that's just going to be your purchase conversion value divided by your purchases. And I'll just save that, even though it's not super relevant. Set that as currency, create metric. And what that is going to be, we'll check that, forgot to check it, hit apply. And what that is it's just, it's your average order value for every order that comes in. How much is that order on average? And that's good to see, what ads and what audiences are worth in terms of order value. Some ads might drive orders of very small and cheap products, whereas others will drive orders of higher products. And so you can't just look at something like CPA, because it might cost you 10 cents to drive a sale, but if they're only buying an 11-cent item, then is it worth it? You're probably not making too much money, right? Whereas if you're driving a sale that costs you $50 to drive, but that sale is worth $1,000, your return is obviously much higher. So looking at just one single metric is never the end-all be-all. You have to look at all of the different metrics involved to understand what you're truly getting. Higher AOVs, lower CPAs, that's going to get you the higher ROAS. Another example could be if you're driving a $1,000 sale, but your CPA is $2,000, your ROAS is going to be $50. So you just have to look at all the different numbers involved to understand what you're getting back. Okay, that brings us to the end of this one. Catch you in the next one.